Hi, I'm Stefan Phillips and welcome to Future Now, the podcast from Block, where we explore how technology is transforming the world around us. Today we're joined by two incredible guests from Queen Mary University of London. Rachel Bence, Chief Information Officer, Lead in Digital Transformation in Education, and Steve Uhlig, Professor of Networks, shaping the future of connectivity. Together we'll dive into how Block's innovative solutions are helping organisations to unlock their potential. So let's get started. Steve, Rachel, welcome to the show and thank you very much for being here with us today. So we're about a year into our partnership now with Queen Mary and Block, and it's been amazing to see how much progress has been made. But we were talking just outside then about how much progress has been made in so many other areas outside of the Block partnership as well. And I'm really excited to hear more about that today and the reasons for that and kind of how the impact that's had as well. To start with, Rachel, would you mind introducing yourself for everyone and how you came to the role at Queen Mary?
Yeah. So, thank you. I've been CIO now at Queen Mary for 6 years. It's very hard to believe. The time's absolutely flown. It's been an absolutely amazing experience. I was in the sector in the last role to this one. I was at Bristol University and was IT director there. And previous to that, I was working for a number of years in aerospace, both Rolls-Royce and Airbus, in systems engineering, which you might say, okay, what's the connection? Actually, there's masses of connections in terms of using the engineering techniques that I used and came to know very well during that role, and applying them to IT projects has been actually quite a good experience, I think, for me and for the team.
Fantastic. Well, thank you. And Steve, if you don't mind doing the same, your role and how you came into this.
So I'm Steve Uhlig. I'm a professor of networks, but at the moment I'm head of school of the School of Electronic Engineering and Computer Science. That's particularly touched by anything that happens in IT, obviously, since we are heavy users of IT and sometimes heavy contributors of issues in IT. So I've been head of school for the last 4 years now, probably for 5 more, before joining Queen Mary. So I joined Queen Mary in 2012, 14 years ago. That's a long time. Doesn't feel like it. There's so many things going on, so it doesn't feel like a lot of time. Before that, I was actually in industry. I worked with Deutsche Telekom Lab, so the German telecom companies, one of the largest European internet service providers. And for them, so I was a researcher, but actually I was also involved with the company on some projects involving IT, but more specifically traffic engineering, so shifting traffic, handling peering, so relationship between themselves and other networks, and a lot of different strategic projects. So I'm very familiar to not just digital transformation, but service providers have changed so much from being the old dinosaurs that had the monopoly into being very challenged with data centers, with content-delivery networks, that I lived in a time where things changed a lot in that company. I was there for 4 years and then now joined academia, where we have the same pattern of a lot of things happening in our external environments that forces us to move a lot.
That makes sense.
So it's interesting that we've both got that commercial experience, I think, which is sometimes very important in a university, isn't it? To have a different perspective on projects. And
it's a broad range of experience, isn't it, that you've almost been brought together to this point now, and I bet it's stood you in good stead for everything that you've achieved there at Queen Mary.
That's why I'm so involved with ITS, because I'm officially an academic, but I don't really think like one. I don't feel like it's only about students and the research and the usual tasks that academics do, but you have to also have the support and enable the great teaching and research to be done, and you need the support to work well for that.
What makes you both so passionate about working in higher education?
I think it's changing the world, isn't it? So we have an opportunity at Queen Mary. We do actually practice what we preach. We say we're most inclusive university.
Yeah, we are.
We are definitely the most inclusive university, particularly in the Russell Group, in terms of the intake.
Yeah.
And I think we're all passionate about ensuring that those young people get the best possible education and can go on and challenge their peers from potentially more advantaged backgrounds and to, get the jobs of the future and to be the leaders of the future, really.
Yeah.
So I think for our student community, that's really, really important. And obviously for our research, I mean, the work that Steve's team and the associated research institutes are doing around AI and machine learning is absolutely world class. So, for me, it's about changing the world in a number of ways.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's fantastic to see. And some of the things you've mentioned there, I imagine the project we've worked on, which we'll come on to, has probably
Yes.
set the foundations for some of the other things you can do from there. So,
It did. Yes.
It's good to see. So, as a starting point, then, I guess we start at the beginning on the project that Block and Queen Mary have worked on. What were the core challenges you faced, 12 months ago in the last 2 years that you really wanted to make an impact on?
I think we had constant complaints about the quality of Wi-Fi, combined with the drive to put in a really robust digital workplace, which was one of the most challenging programs of work that I kicked off when I first joined the university 6 years ago. So I really wanted to have the concept that people could work anytime, any place, anywhere, including on the campus. So they may not be in their normal office, but they could work anywhere in a really productive way. And not having good Wi-Fi was a real problem. That's a phenomenal foundation block in that whole strategy. So so it really was a combination of being challenged a lot from academics and professional services staff and students alike that the Wi-Fi provision wasn't up to scratch, but also having this underpinning strategy around a really robust digital workplace was really key for me.
Okay, what's the impact to I guess the experience to the users, to students? What's that real impact to the institution?
It's probably twofold. I mean, researchers definitely need Wi-Fi to be able to interact, as all staff do, students as well. So when they come onto campus, they expect to have the best possible experience in terms of connectivity. They shouldn't be paying for it on campus. They may be at home in their, in their halls of residence, or not perhaps so much in their halls of residence, but in their homes if they're commuter students. And we do have a lot of those. When they come onto campus, they expect to be able to connect instantly and to be able to use multiple devices as well. So we also be able to run applications actually in labs as well as out of labs as well. Yeah.
Makes sense. I read something, I think in another interview you did, around the amount of change post-pandemic as well, and what you've seen there. Could you maybe provide more context behind that as well?
Yeah, so COVID was an absolute game changer. And I would say it was probably true for lots of institutions, not just for us. I think we reacted particularly quickly. So within 2 weeks, we'd stood up an entire digital environment in the form of the Microsoft offering, mainly in terms of Teams, in terms of instant messaging, being able to run teaching from remotely, which was absolutely unheard of. And then we extended that into the classroom. So effectively, we can still run teaching remotely, and we do often have a mixed cohort of students who are in the teaching room and are working from home, because potentially we may again have disadvantaged students who are working at home, but not just on their studies, but they may have a job. We have to acknowledge that they may have caring responsibilities, and therefore we're one of many challenges that they face in their lives. So if they can actually join a lecture remotely, it's something that keeps them engaged. We also run the facility for them to be able to watch a lecture that's recorded later. But I think there's nothing like being able to join a lecture, but also be able to ask questions as well. So there's that interactive element. So we put that together extremely rapidly. And I would say we're probably sector leading on that capability, and we do invest upwards of $1 million in our AV audiovisual estate every year to keep us ahead of the game.
It's amazing to see.
Yeah.
And Steve, in your area specifically, could you talk us through maybe how Wi-Fi issues would impact your day-to-day or your job, and what you were trying to achieve?
Wi-Fi issues are pretty old. Anytime we would have lectures pre-COVID, we knew many students wouldn't have good enough network or wouldn't be able to use Wi-Fi, which could be a good thing when you're teaching them. But COVID really has changed a lot user expectations. That's really the biggest thing. It's not just how things are done. Obviously, now everybody assumes that you can do a Teams or a lecture remotely. So some people will be at home, the lecturer might be at home, more rarely, but that does happen as well. And then it could be hundreds of students that have to participate through those massive video conferences, kind of. And that's something that's really hard to make seamless. So even though the network was good enough, the provision in terms of Teams, Zoom, and the applications were in principle allowing it to happen, users struggled to know how to do things. Some lecturers used to try to do things the way they were comfortable with, and that didn't work. For example, right now, we still don't manage to do lectures where you have part of the audience or most of the audience in a room and then a large enough number outside the room. While it's actually very important because our students are often from disparate backgrounds, so we have to give that flexibility. But managing dynamics in a remote room isn't the same as managing dynamics in a specific room like here. And that was really a big issue. And most of the complaints were not about technical matters, but about usage of the applications and the network.
There's a big change piece there. And it is really hard for those academic staff who are delivering lectures to large cohorts who are sort of facing them in a traditional way, but remembering that there are potentially 50 people who are joining remotely and still remembering to engage them. It really is a difficult task. And I think that probably that change piece, we did underestimate how much effort it was going to be to take those lecturers into a space where they were comfortable delivering to two distinct cohorts.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
And I've seen how much the research Queen Mary contributes, even at UK economy level there as well. I expect there's quite high demands from people working in research to have that performance there, especially from a computer science and other areas where the demands will be high on that network. Has that been a major?
But that is more from a compute aspect rather than from a network connectivity. And given my background, I'm so biased because I work with internet service providers and in the network, which is one of those things you assume it always works, and it's only because you don't notice it. And the moment you notice, it's only because something went wrong. And that causes a lot of frustration.
That makes sense. So I guess moving on from there, then the challenge is there, and it's clear there's a problem there to fix. I guess what made it the right time to go and do something about this? You've got a lot of other programs going on. Why now to try and address this challenge?
I think, to be honest, our existing provider was increasingly costly to maintain that solution.
Okay.
I think we were getting to end of life, and I think we needed to do something dramatically different. And with the advent of AI capability and modern Wi-Fi we didn't have actually, so we did need to think about a provider that could not just provide us with a replacement for what we've got, but could think about a different way of thinking in terms of smart campus is really where we need to be getting to as a university. So we do things radically differently, but using the platforms and technology that's sort of a basic building block, really.
On the point about smart campus, for people who'll be watching this video as well, could you expand on what that means to you as well, smart campus?
So I think it's using digital in a way that we haven't before. So, for example, it should be really easy to provide things like data about how many people are using the gym. Is the gym busy at the moment? If I go to the library, am I likely to be able to find a space to sit down? So using that sort of digital capability, but also in terms of estates who have got a really big challenge at the moment, our estates and facilities function, because we are under pressure. Cost pressure is a sector that's very well known, I think, out there, and utility costs are vast. So another application of Smart Campus is to try and reduce utility costs.
Yeah.
And actually working out which buildings are being used and which ones aren't, and therefore optimizing our space accordingly. And as a result of that, we would then be able to save, significant amounts on operating costs, actually. So there's a smart campus element for student and staff experience, but there's also a back-end smart campus factor with our estates and facilities colleagues who really do need this capability, the modern Wi-Fi capability, to be able to make informed decisions about space utilization.
That's really interesting. Yeah. I imagine we'll probably touch on some of that as well, moving forward as well. I guess there's so much transformation here and so much change. How do you bring people on that journey from a leadership perspective and making sure that you align with, because I know how important the values of Queen Mary are, and how do you align and bring everyone on that journey with you? And I guess what the challenges do you find within that as well?
I think for students, it's not a question of bringing them on board because they expect it. They are so used to, even in classrooms these days, in having very smart capabilities. So for students, I think it's a done deal. They expect to have a home from home service in their residences so they can connect all of their kit. I think for staff, I think the ones that have joined the sector fairly recently, they are also really fighting for change. Maybe colleagues who've been there a lot longer, maybe we have a bigger job to do to bring them on board. And there is a consideration when you roll out several IT projects at once, whether you can actually handle the change management aspects, which are significant. They really are. But we haven't a choice. That's the thing. So I think we've been investing significantly over the last 2 to 3 years in lots of our key platforms. We're coming out of the end of that now, I would say. And now is a question of sort of optimizing the processes, optimizing the costs, optimizing the license, all those sorts of things, which we can then start to do which would basically working on the adoption side of things. I think with Wi-Fi, we've got less adoption to do because effectively, we've got a better solution and people aren't complaining. That's the main thing. Whereas before,
they use it anyway.
They have to use it anyway. So it's less of a change project. A lot of our other initiatives involve lots of business change, which is quite a significant job to do. And we don't.
Sorry, are people willing to accept some level of disruption for the future benefits?
Yeah, I think so. It's about explaining the benefits, isn't it?
Yeah.
And but you do have to be careful how many of those intense, what I call business change pieces you do at once, because people do get overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Yes.
They really do. But with COVID, you see, that's a demonstration of how much change you can get done if you really have some drop dead deadlines to cope with. For example, when COVID broke out, we had to get ready for September when the students are coming back. We had to have an online capability for teaching. There was absolutely no choice, and we did it. So if you really can do it if you want to. It's just whether you can work your teams at that pace forever is not the case, because people do burn out in the end. So you have to balance a number of factors.
Yeah, I can imagine, and I guess if there is some level of disruption and things, the pressure's on then to really deliver on the benefits that you say will.
Absolutely. So we are putting increasing reliance, I should say, on benefits. So we can't make a massive benefit claim 3 years ago and then not demonstrate it once the product's in, because that's not going to wash any longer. So I think that's a majorly important factor. And we're asking our suppliers and anybody who wants to sort of bid for work with us they need to show the benefits, not the features. I think that's what I would say. Show the benefits. Don't show me what it does. Show me how it's going to benefit me and my staff and my students going forward.
And I guess then how do you measure that success as well, with real numbers and data behind it as well? Is important.
You do need to have the right reporting lined up behind that, and also show how it's turning the dial on the strategic aims of the institution as well, because that's key as well.
That's good. So it was a big change in technology as well here, and I mean it was a big investment as a project. You changed technology and you changed partner. So what were the decisions behind moving towards Juniper Mist technology and to work with Block on this project?
That was quite obvious, and whether we were talking about Wi-Fi or estates is quite similar. You need analytics. You need first the data to understand what's the problem, what is happening, where is the dynamics, and that's where AI is so interesting, because if you have the data, which is an assumption we used not to with previous Wi-Fi access points. Same for estates. Now we're still struggling to get that data. Once you have the data, then there are lots of things you can do in terms of not just understanding what is happening, but then better prioritizing what to do, where to do it, where the resources should be going, at what pace should you change things. And with the Wi-Fi project, that was one of the big things that it accomplished without even users noticing that it happened, is that things were working, even though there is large changes in dynamics, in working patterns, while the network is still there. And you just need to have a network that is able to sustain the load that's shifting. I wouldn't say not very predictably, but in a way that's changing compared to what it used to be, because users have moved on thanks to COVID, or due to COVID, and now the network has to adapt to that. Now, in a few years from now, we'll be probably in a similar situation in terms of how different the demand or the situation is compared to today, maybe because of cost, because of changes in the environment. So that was a big incentive in choosing that solution, because we could see there was analytics behind it, that there was the ability to troubleshoot, to understand, but what is happening to my network, while in the past we used to simply have reports maybe on a phone, or in some ways like, oh, sorry, this access point doesn't work. Well, it would typically not be there. It would be somebody saying in a room, the network doesn't work. Like, yes, and what do I do about it? And then you need, see, it happened. You need the ability to troubleshoot what's happening, why, so that next time it's not going to happen.
Yeah, that makes sense. Rachel, what gave you the confidence in working with Block as such a strategic project for you?
I think Block's worked very intensively with other parts of our sector and with healthcare as well. I see healthcare as quite a similar sector, actually. So I had confidence from, the testimonies from other parts of our sector and others that, Block would do a good job working with Juniper Mist and getting that solution in.
Okay, good. So I guess there's so many, when you're embarking on a project such as this, to get to that point, there's so many competing budgets. There's only a finite budget across an organization. There's so many competing initiatives that are needed in various areas. How do you secure managing to get this project off the ground in the first place and ensure the greatest impact from that?
I mean, I think you look at the do nothing risks, really. Yeah. There was not, we had to do something. We couldn't live with the existing solution in its current format. So in a sense, the business case is a little bit made by itself in that regard. You then say, okay, what could we do over and above what we've got at the moment? Because we need the analytics capability, the smart campus capability, for example. And then the sort of excitement that's generated with, we could actually start to think about our building occupancy levels in a different way and being able to work out what they are. Traditionally, we had somebody sat at a doorway counting the number of people in and out of buildings. We can't go on like that. That comes with a cost in itself. Yeah. We need to instantly understand how many people are using a specific building or facility, because that comes with a cost in itself. Do you see what I'm saying? So we want to be a data-driven organization. It's only when you're a data-driven organization can you make decisions quickly, rapidly for the good of the organization. Things change very quickly in our world. We need a capability to be able to let us understand the data and act on it as well, secondly. And that was the sort of solution we were looking for, really. So it was a bit of a no-brainer, to be frank. And we're lucky to have, I think, an executive team that really gets technology and gets security as well. So that's another big consideration. We need a secure network as well as a functioning and performant network. And they realised how far behind we were as a university in terms of technology. I think we've gone from being way behind to actually being ahead. I would say we've invested millions over the last few years in technology, and we are now starting to see the benefits really, just in lack of complaints. That makes, I mean, we need to quantify that benefit as well by doing a survey and checking with the service desk in terms of reduction of tickets and things like that. But, it's really good not to have complaints about the basics, because people have always said to me in my career, you've got to get the basics right. Don't tell me you're going to come and change the world if people can't connect to their Wi-Fi. You've got to invest. So we've invested in the basics. We've invested in devices. We've invested in storage. We've invested in cloud. We've invested in Wi-Fi. If you do that, you can build on top of those capabilities, and you can then change the world. But you can't change the world unless you've got the basics right.
Yeah, agree. And then we see that so often across all our customers. You mentioned cyber then. How are you finding out, how are you dealing with the increase in pressures around cyber risk? Because this must be a big part of your job and a big headache for you at the moment.
Well, we've invested in a security operations centre that runs 24/7. So we have a capability now where we have somebody looking at our stats and our data 24/7 and informing us if we have any issues, and potentially disconnecting people who, and they don't appreciate it, but if you've detected malware on a device, you do something straight away. So touch wood, in my IT managed area, I haven't had a cyber attack in the way that others have. We've also been subject to cyber attacks from the supplier end, from small elements of our organisation that are not currently under sort of total IT management. But we are dealing with those, and as we've encountered those, we are now bringing more and more areas under the fold so we can put the proper cyber. For example, MS Defender is now across all our networks. So that helps us no end in terms of being able to anticipate a cyber attack that could become particularly nasty. So I would say out of everything, it's my top priority to keep the university safe. And I think we're doing a pretty good job. Again, we use Microsoft scores in terms of how we're looking externally to the outside world. And we're targeting that. We're going for ISO 27001 in November, which I'm hoping we're going to achieve. And that would give us, again, a massive, that's again, a basic thing to have. You need the right platforms, you need the right security. And if you can do that, you can, because it's so disruptive to have a cyber attack. We've seen other universities who have been out for 3, 4, even up to a year. British Library as well is another example, who didn't have necessarily the most robust business continuity plans as well. And it's totally disruptive, and people don't realise until they're in the midst of it what it can look like, and what what not having that cyber protection can do.
I agree completely. So looking back there, I mean, we've achieved a lot in a short space of time on this project. And I guess looking back, where there's still a lot more to come, but looking back on what we've done so far, what lessons have you learned, and are there any takeaways you'd share with other organisations looking to embark on a similar project of transformation?
I think really the main lesson is we could have started a bit earlier, actually. We should have done this a couple of years earlier.
But it's been fascinating, this conversation, and thank you very much for sharing so much with us. It's from our side that we're so excited to see what you've done and what you've achieved, and really looking forward to continuing that partnership and seeing, what's next to come as well from there. Because I think now you've got those foundations and the basics and that we talked about, we can start to measure success with clear metrics behind that. It's great to see that now we can look to the future and what we can do next. So thank you very much.